And joining me, actor Ali Fazal, whose film Victoria and Abdul premiered at the Venice Film Festival. Ali, just read you are in the list of top 10 actors to watch out for.
Yes, well, I don't know. I guess there is a lot of pressure, but it's also great news. I mean, it's nice to know that it's come to India, which is which is a good thing, and I'm looking forward to it. But more than that, I think right now I'm focusing on the film coming out, and we've got a long run, and I'm pretty excited.
So what was it like working with Dame Judi Dench? She's no less than cinema royalty herself.
Well, yeah, she is. I think you said it perfectly. She's royalty when it comes to, actors and even otherwise. I mean, she's Dame now. And it was, I mean, I had my first fan moment with her, when we met for the first time. We were having lunch together, and, I think a little bit of a Gamar moment might have happened on my but I've just grown up, watching her films, and even Stephen Frears for that matter. But I think we broke the ice, and that was the most beautiful part about Judi, that she eases you in, and she is the most loved person in Britain, undoubtedly, and I think if not the world. So it's very easy to love her.
So any fun moments with her on sets? I've heard she's quite childlike.
Honestly, every single day spent on that set, from the day I met her for the first time, is just etched in my memory. It's there. It's like a photograph. She's a kid. She's this. she's whack. That's all I can say. I mean, she is the funniest person when she walks into a room. She has everyone in splits, and yet her energy is on some other level, and she's all about rehearsal, and she just has this great. So this is a very interesting anecdote that I have, and I just remembered, we were on set and she just stopped the shot in the middle, not in the middle, like right before we were supposed to go action on it, and everybody was like, but is there something wrong? And it took 3 seconds for the sound guys to suddenly realize that there was an airplane coming. And she heard it. Like, it was amazing. And she's like, no, I know, it's coming. So she has these sort of small superhero elements, but I think I found a great friend in her. And
so after Fast and Furious 7, were you expecting this to happen so soon?
Well, I mean, I had to. So I was sitting with someone I know from the industry, and she mentioned that this was happening, and I called and we recorded a scene, and a month later I got a call that they were coming down. They liked what I did, and they were meeting a lot of B-town celebs and actors, and lots of my colleagues. Grooming of Abdul Karim, I'd say. And yeah, it was like a video game. I just like passing levels. So it was fun, but I think I would have done the same if I was looking for my Abdul, I guess, because after that Stephen did not call for formal rehearsals as such. I think he trusted enough to just walk in and do our job. Of course, there was a lot of prep that went in after I got selected, and that was the hard part.
Also, the movie is an adaptation of a book and deals with a long-forgotten chapter in history. But there's always a struggle between fact and fiction when we translate events on screen.
No, I think, yes, it is a part of history that's been neglected. And I think to a certain extent forcefully brushed aside. And both sides, in Britain and in India. And I think I thank Shabani Basu for bringing this to light and actually writing a book with so much detail, with so much research that went into it. Of course, I read the book at a very later stage, and I thought the way Lee Hall had written the script was a very fantastical aspect. But it wasn't. I mean, there's very few instances in it that are fictional. Of course, the language and the conversations at that point have to be fictionalized, and you can only imagine that's how they spoke, because that's how they did speak at a certain time. It's almost like maths, that you're zeroing down onto a certain century and then to that time, you know, in history, and locking it down to Queen Victoria and the Indian people who were around her at that point, and then zeroing down on Abdul Karim. So yes, it was a lot of patches that we had to put on, but a lot of it is true. I mean, so much of it is true, because in my research, I must have gone through at least 9 to 10 books on history just to sort of get an idea of that period and try and find glimpses of Abdul. So, from someone's autobiography where, it's mentioned, one of the chapters says the Munshi mania, and so it gives you this different perspective to what was happening in the household. And then there's, of course, Abdul Karim's diary, and then there are these letters that she wrote to him, and these are actual letters by Queen Victoria. So from language and the intimacy of that language what kind of a relationship they had. And the locations we know, that is already recorded in history. So a lot of it was actually true. This happened, and I think the fictional part is maybe my face. And but we've tried to keep it as close as possible. I mean, there's only that much. Of course, there's always room for error. I mean, we're trying to leap back 150 years. That definitely leaves room for a lot of scrutiny. I mean, and it's going to happen, of course. A lot of people are going to come up and have problems with it. But we're used to it. I think in India are already getting used to that.
Irfan Khan, Priyanka Chopra, Deepika Padukone, now you. So do you feel Hollywood's infamous whitewashing is paling a bit?
Yeah, I think times are changing. I think it's a great time for actors and directors all across the board. Hollywood, be it even India. I think the web has really, in some ways, connected everybody and sort of thrown us onto the same platform. You can't ignore people, and therefore you can't ignore ethnicity. You can't ignore cultures. You can't just shove in anybody to play anything. You have to diversify. You have to be true to it. You talk about being true to something, then you be true to something. I think it was a big and wonderful step that Universal took to come down to India and cast this part of Abdul Karim that I'm playing. So many times, people haven't done that. They never found the need to do it. So I think it's definitely a huge progress on both sides. I mean, in India, of course, we are coming up with great content. I think it's a great time for cinema here. A lot of bullshit's being called out, and just good stuff is working. It's going to take time, but it is there, and I'm excited to be part of that bandwagon. That there's exciting stuff happening here that I'm part of, and then there's Hollywood that's been really, really humble and respectful to me, entering it in this way.
Director Stephen Frears had worked with Shashi Kapoor in the past, and honestly, we can say Shashi Kapoor was the first ever crossover actor.
Yeah. I mean, he had a relationship with the Attenboroughs and Merchant Ivory, and that was this whole era that I feel suddenly has been forgotten. And that's just maybe 50 years ago, so I think we forget things very, very fast. Shashi Kapoor has done some iconic stuff, and I think it's just a full circle that, Stephen happens to now be directing me in this film.
And then comes Fukrey 2 is on its way, so double the trouble, double the fun.
Yeah, oh, that's a madcap. I'm really excited. I love the team. It's a great production house, Excel Entertainment, and we're opening end of the year. So as soon as Victoria gets over, I'm going to be moving on to the promotions for that. We just wrapped up our last song, so it's looking good.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Ali.
Thank you so much. I hope you get to watch it soon.